So hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard, I'll be your host for this evening. Now, tonight's episode is it's going to be kind of like a Friends of the Show episode. And the title is There's Nothing Grim Down in Druid City. Now, I know why it's called that, and you will know why it's called that, because joining me tonight is a gentleman who ran a really successful Kickstarter campaign earlier on this year, not too long ago. It's James Hudson from Druid City Games. So, hello, James. Good afternoon.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm very, very good.
Or as we say down here in the South in the States, hey y'all.
Hey y'all. How you doing this fine evening, sir? No, I'm not gonna.
I'll do British accent. You do Southern.
Could we do that all the way? Could we do that all the way through? Can you do a Scottish accent?
I cannot do a Scottish accent.
Can you?
Everybody makes fun of me that I end up sounding like Russell Crowe in the Robin Hood movie when I try to do British.
Let's do that. Because that's fantastic. Because Russell Crowe,
or like some weird Crocodile Dundee type thing, which it just doesn't work.
As long as you're not Dick Van Dyke.
It kind of fades to that. So I did the voiceover on the Grimm Forest.
Right.
So if you listen to the video that's on the Kickstarter page, I tried to have a little bit of an English grit to the tone, and I had people say, "Hey, you did kind of Russell Crowe it like Robin Hood, where your accent changed a few times throughout that. It was only 2 minutes." So,
but technically, it could have been worse. It could have been Kevin Costner, who didn't bother kind of changing his accent, kind of like
he's just like, "I'll go with it." Yeah, so, he's like, "I'll just go with it."
So whereabouts in the South are you then, James?
In Alabama. So we're in a town called Tuscaloosa, and that's where Druid City Games comes from, because our town here is called the Druid City.
Okay. I'd like to point out as a quick aside that Alabama is one of 4 states in America that has yet to download an episode of We're Not Wizards. So, I was checking kind of last week, and I was checking, and I was like, I've got North Dakota, I've got South Dakota, Alaska. Now I don't expect anybody to be downloading from Alaska, and then there was Alabama, and I was like, what am I doing wrong?
No, it's probably what are you doing right?
All right, okay. I mean, do you all like kind of like wizards and stuff like that? Kind of like in North Dakota and South Dakota and Alabama, that you're too much loving your magic that anybody that says that they're not wizards, you're not allowed to kind of get involved with. You kind of chuck us out.
Well, one of the jokes that we have here is, we're 49th in education out of all the states. So it's thank God for Mississippi, which is next door, which is 50th. So
listen, I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against Mississippi because they've at least downloaded a couple of episodes. I'm just saying. I'm not judging.
That's the only thing they're beating us in, apparently. So, or anyone at that matter.
Oh, there you go. So, well, first of all, thank you for coming along to the show.
Sure, thanks for having me.
What I was alluding to before I was stuttering over myself was that you ran the very successful and very well loved and received Grimm Forest Kickstarter, which ran earlier on this year.
March 21st. Yeah,
which kind of got a lot of love and a lot of interest, and it was down to kind of like a couple of things. The gameplay looked extremely interesting. The graphical style was fantastic, and there's a lot of backers out there that can't wait to get their hands on the miniatures that'll be coming their way as well, because they also kind of look stunning. But this wasn't your first venture into Kickstarter, was it?
No, I had a game last July that we launched called Barnyard Roundup, which was a family-style card game.
Okay.
I started with a very small project that I could learn the business, learn how to make a game and fulfill it. I didn't want to start with something big and bankrupt the family if I, did a terrible job.
Okay. How did you, before then, how did you get into the kind of the games themselves? How did you get into the hobby? Because one of the things we like to do at We're Not Wizards is we like to have a look at people's pasts. We like to have a little dip into the present, and we like to maybe have a little I guess, a little search off into the future to see what we can find.
Sure.
So what kind of first got you into the hobby at the beginning then, James?
So I've only actually been in gaming for about 3 or 4 years. I'm not a long-term, I didn't play D&D as a kid. In my culture here in the southern U.S., all that stuff is of the devil and would never be allowed to be in anyone's home. So I wasn't exposed to any of that stuff. I was a good God-fearing boy that was made to go to church and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm just a heathen. But so when I got, the game that grabbed me, that got me, was Power Grid. I know that's not typical to everyone's, but I met some new friends a few years ago. I saw they were playing games. I'm like, hey, what's that? They said, it's Power Grid. Sit down and play. So I sat down and played, and then I went down the rabbit hole. I loved it. I went and got the tropes. After that, I went and grabbed Ticket to Ride, Settlers of Catan, Carcassonne, all those games. Played all those, and then just kind of, I've always been left-brained as far as I've done photography. Yeah. I like to draw. So I like to create things, and instantly I had game ideas. So I drew some of those out, and me and my friends were sitting around about 2 years ago, and said, I'd really like to make some games, and just started drawing them out on note cards and trying to make games, and that led to Barnyard. So if you've ever played Crack-a-Lack-and Poker, that is kind of one of the big inspirations for Barnyard. We love that game, especially if we're drinking. Yeah. It's the perfect drinking hangout game, but we wanted to make it. I wanted something I could play. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old now, but at the time, my son was 5, and there's not a lot he can read or play. No. So I wanted something that he could easily recognize, and every child can recognize farm animals.
Well, I mean, Old MacDonald had a farm is probably a universal kind of song,
Absolutely. And, I didn't have to teach him. Whereas, in Crack-a-Lack and Poker, it's really hard to tell the difference between like the snake or the spider and the scorpion. Yeah. They all kind of look similar. So anyway, and I never really liked that you're playing to have a first loser. I like to play things to win and have strategy. And so that's kind of the idea behind Barnyard, is that you're doing set collection and that you can see people's sets in front of them and you can use that information against them. So I can see, you're trying to collect all of the 5 animals. And if I can see that you're missing pigs, I can pass you the 3 face down cards, Richard, and I can be like, hey, Richard, that is that's the 3 pigs that you need. And you're over here, you're like Princess Bride. You're like, would you give me what I need? Nah, you wouldn't do that. And so you say no, and you flip them over, and they're actually the 3 pigs, and everybody flips the table, and they're pissed off, and it's great. And people are like, are you trying to teach your kid to lie? And, I think it's a very important skill to learn how to lie. We use it every day. If the wife comes in and says, how do I look in this dress? And if it's not on point, you might want to say that it's on point anyway, So we learn.
You got as a defense. That's a defense mechanism. I mean, that's a survival trait. Do I look fat in this jacket? No, absolutely not. You look stunning in that jacket.
That's right.
And it's a survival instinct. It's not just...
Oh, listen, we can't put it all on the women because we're just as bad if, we say, hey, babe, what do you think about the job I did over here? And we probably did a crappy job on something. And they're like, it's pretty good. Yeah. They're lying. They're lying to us. They're trying to protect our ego. So it goes both ways. It's really not about lying. It really does teach children critical thinking and how to make a choice under pressure, because when it becomes your turn and you have to oh gosh, there's, people crumble sometimes under that pressure of having to try to fib or tell the truth, but you have the option. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. My 5-year-old play tested it for a year and a half. He loves it. He still says it's one of his favorite games. And I don't think he would say that, because 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds, they can just tell you like it is.
Unless, of course, he's learned these critical thinking life skills and he's professionally... He's managed to lie really convincingly to you.
He is milking me for all the Pokemon cards. So if he thinks he could get an extra pack of Sun and Moon cards out of me, he's all over it.
So when you made the first game, did you specifically aim it at kids, or was that kind of like a happy coincidence that came along at the same time?
Yeah, I did, because as I spooled up my board gaming kind of career and or fandom, I really enjoyed playing I don't like necessarily super, super heavy games, but I do enjoy a game that's got a little meat to it. And playing anything that my son at the time could play made me want to drill a hole into my head. Candyland and Chutes and Ladders and all that kind of stuff that he could play. That's not really games. It was really boring. So I wanted to make a game that gamers could play with their kids and still enjoy.
Yeah.
And bluffing is just fun. So anyone can sit down. Grandma can sit down and play. One of my favorite moments is my grandparents were helping me play test the game. They've been married for 53 years. And my grandmother tried to bluff my grandfather, and he was like, nope. And they just stopped trying to go to each other because they can't lie to each other. They've been around each other too much. They know all the tales. So yeah, it was a combination of I wanted families to have something, because that was one of my biggest joys of board gaming was it helped me and my wife connect. When you start having kids and stuff, it's so hard to have date nights and spend time together that's meaningful other than just sitting in front of the TV and zoning out. So the board games really re-sparked our marriage and helped us kind of connect more. And I wanted something that could help the whole family do that. And it didn't make, the dads or moms gamers feel like they're just trudging through mud.
So what's your current favourite? I know obviously you've been slightly busy making successful Kickstarters, but when you sit down with your wife and you're playing the games, have you got kind of like go-to games that you play on a regular basis?
So I'll give you 3 that we can't get enough of right now.
Okay.
So Raiders of the North Sea, which I know is a few years, maybe a year ago or so that it kickstarted, but it just got nominated for a Spiel.
Right.
Love it. It is a fantastic worker placement game. I've only had it a couple months, so we've only played it a few times, but I'll play it at the drop of a hat. King Domino. Love that game from Blue Orange.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you haven't played that one, it's super quick filler city builder with tiles, but it's just got a great dynamic. We played it last night. Game night Monday night's my game night. We played it 4 times in a row with the group. We just were like, run it back. And then a game that no one has heard of. It's been out a little bit, and I don't know why, but it's my favorite social deduction game right now. Is Don't Mess with Cthulhu from Indie Boards and Cards. Very simple.
I have to see what this one looks like. I'm gonna check.
It's just normal. Like it could have had any theme put on it. It actually, over on your side of the pond, it was released by I never say their name right. Elo.
Any of those will do, because I'm exactly the same. I think
good.
If it's like, is it Jello?
Could it be? It kind of does look like that.
It's probably pronounced something different. It's probably we're called Dartforth Games, and it's just that's how we spell it.
Well, they released it as Time Bomb, and so if you've heard of the game Time Bomb, it was Sherlock versus Moriarty.
Yeah,
but they rethemed it for over here because of terrorists or something. I don't know. So those are the 3 that I'm playing a lot of right now. Then also, I got an early copy because I do some reviews on my YouTube channel, the Board Game Spotlight and Druid City Games. And I got a chance. Renegade Games sent me Flatline, and I have been playing the hell out of that game. So if you like Fuse that they had from before, this is like a big, huge cooperative Fuse, and I really enjoy all the dice chunking and chaos. It's a lot of fun.
Doing the reviews, does that come as part and parcel of kind of collecting games at the same time? I mean, was that something else just to kind of get... I guess if you're getting your name out there, then it helps.
One of the things I tell all the creators about is you should have something... It's kind of like karma, right? Something that you're putting into the industry.
Yeah.
Some sort of content. In the marketing world, it's called content marketing.
Yeah.
But for us layman folk, it's called karma. If you put something in, when you ask for something out, it's a lot easier and a lot more palatable for everyone to say, hey, well, this guy's provided me a service for 2 years. I don't mind helping him out. Oh, by the way, his game's actually pretty fun. So I got a good game in addition to that. But So one of the things, my reviews aren't, I don't sit in front of the camera and discuss the ins and the intricacies of the game.
Yeah.
My idea is I get down with my gimbal, my phone. It's really bare bones. I dive into the gameplay as quickly as possible. I try to keep it in the range of 5 to 8 minutes. so that people can quickly see, is this a game that I might be interested in? Hey, then you can go look up Richard Ham's video and watch a 30-minute playthrough to see if it's something you really want to invest your time in.
It depends if he's if he's decided he can play it with his wife as well, because that's the funniest ones. I've seen a couple of videos where he goes, is it Kim? Her name is, I think.
Jen.
Jen, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, Jen. He's like, shit, I'll just get Jen, come through and help me with this game and stuff like that. But no, I think you have to. Yeah, I think you're right. It also kind of builds your profile. If you're a well-known face in the community, when it comes to you, as you said, kind of saying, well, listen, guys, can you kind of help me out with stuff? I think people are more willing to give it back, unless if you're just going out with a begging bowl and saying, well, listen, this is what I'm doing, give me.
Yeah, I think people can tell if you're not genuine about it. If it's a whole show. But for me, I really enjoy board games. So it's an excuse for me to get more board games. It's an excuse for me to learn more board games. I tell the wife, I'm like, hey, babe, I had to get this game because I got to do a video on it. She's like, yeah, but I'm like, no. You got to play it with me too. So it's, now it's date night material. So you can't say no to date night.
That's night. Date night. You're so right, because a lot of the time it's like date night. Let's go to a restaurant, or let's go out and see a movie, or actually sitting down and you're just interacting. You can chill out. You can have a beer. You can not have a beer. You can have music on in the background, and you're having to interact with a person. And it can get funny. It can be very, very competitive. It can be, kind of very, very playful. And that's what we always bang the drum on about, board games, is you have to be kind of semi-social about it. Even if you're playing something like semi-dry, like Power Grid, which I did play. And I enjoyed. I came last, but that's because I'm a man of very little brains. So I was kind of like, people are going like, right, I'm getting this, then I'm going to bid for this, and then I'm going to turn this into this, and then I'm going to produce this, and I'm just sitting there going, okay, so this is coal, right? This is the coal. This is the coal power station. Have you found, with your profile has obviously been raised with what happened with Grimm Forest. Have you found it's been easier? Have you stepped away from the reviews at the moment while you were working on Grimm Forest? Have you found people actually approaching you more, saying, "Hey, listen, could you do a run through in that kind of game?" Has that kind of happened at all?
Yeah, it is really hard to balance everything, being kind of a small operation like this. You gotta. The reviews did definitely slow down during the campaign of Grimm Forest, just because it's just natural. Something has to give.
Exactly. You just imagine you lead it over a box and going, "Look, there's the counters. Okay, it's a game. Here's the instructions. There you go, and read it yourself." I'll catch you next week. Yeah. On my end, I've only got so much bandwidth, and so you got to you choose to do it wisely. But I kind of let everybody know within my groups and circles, during the campaign, they probably wouldn't see a lot of content. But it also helped that the first part of the year doesn't have a ton of new games. No.
We're about to enter the kind of the high season between Origins and Gen Con and the UK Games Expo and then Essen. Those four kind of set the bar for the year on what's gonna come out. So
yeah. Let's talk about the kind of the three little piggies in the room. So
I didn't design Grimm Forest. It's done by Tim Eisner. And so Tim Eisner is from Portland. And I met him. He did March of Ants, if you've ever played March of Ants.
Yeah,
it's a really great
4X
game.
Yeah.
And so I met him at Gen Con last year, around August, and we had met online and talked online. I'd helped him promote March of Ants a bit. And as we jived a little bit there at Gen Con, he was like, "Hey, I got a couple games that I've been presenting." I was like, "Oh, I'd love to see them. I just want to play them. I think you're a cool dude, let's go hang out." And so I played, at the time it was called Little Pig, and loved the gameplay. I tell people this, it was my favorite game that I played at Gen Con last year. And when I told him, he told me that it was available, we weren't even looking to publish anyone else's games. We had our own games that we were developing. Yeah. I put everything on hold. I said, you have to let me have this game. And so if you've seen the movie Saving Mr. Banks, it's the movie about Walt Disney chasing down P.L. Travers.
Yeah. I watched that about a month ago, and it was...
That was me. I was Walt Disney. He was a nice P.L. Travers, because no one's like P.L. Travers. She is wow. But I had to harass him for 2 to 3 months, and it was a very friendly, persistent harassment. But I had a clear vision for what this game needed to be. I knew I could combine my art team of Mr. Cuddington, who's worked on, Santorini, Unfair, Steampunk Rally, some of those games. And I knew their art skills mixed with this world would just make something very vivid.
Oh, Steampunk Rally is one of my favorite games, and I certainly know the artwork. I'm familiar with the artwork on Santorini.
Yeah.
I mean, who isn't? It was a standout, kind of memorable game of last year, certainly. So, was there a lot of courting going on? Did you have to lavish him with gifts, or was it just kind of like the occasional text message? Or
I think he just he just saw my passion for the project, and I had to convince him that, hey, if you give me this project, I will put it at the front of my line. Like, nothing else will come before it. It will go straight to the front, and I'll pump it out as quickly as possible. And because the game was finished, it just needed to be repackaged and put together in a new skin. And so, we still ended up developing it a lot more and adding more cards and more characters and things like that. But it was one of those things where I just had to convince him to see what I saw in the game. And once that happened, he got on board. And I think if you interviewed him now, he would say the same thing. It blew away his expectations, and he's happy with the result as well.
Was it a difficult decision to kind of move on and publish somebody else's work then? Or
a little bit. I've definitely got some more of my own games that I'm looking forward to doing more with. But not really, because I like to facilitate fun, even like at game night. I'm the person who learns games and makes it so that when people show up for game night, no one's sitting around reading a rule book. We can jump right into a game. I'm explaining the game and we're playing it, because I want as many people to have fun as possible. And so I saw that his game had huge potential. And I think once people get it and get to start playing it, they'll see what I saw. It's just so good. It's not super deep. It's not Kanban. We're not going to be spending 3 hours playing it.
No.
But it's such a vivid world that comes to life, and the gameplay is a lot of fun that everyone, I think, will keep this game on their shelf, and it will be their gateway plus game that they can bring people into the hobby with.
Yeah, because it's in essence, you've probably explained this hundreds of times before, but it is in its base, it is kind of like a collect some resources kind of game.
Yeah.
But there are, as with always, there are certain things that influence it, like kind of other characters and cards within the game, which raise it to kind of different levels and kind of give it kind of additional tactics as well. And there was a buzz about Grimm Forest well before it was released.
That's right.
How did you... that's one of the things that people talk about, and we'll get on to maybe Kickstarter in general, and I will promise... Hand on my heart, Mr. Hudson, I promise I will not rant and rave, because I am a ranter, but not a raver.
Okay.
But how important was it to create the buzz and create the interest beforehand? Was that one of the goals? Was that one of the things that you sat down and consciously decided to do? Because I remember hearing, a couple of months before even the Kickstarter started, people were mentioning you in the we have to watch out when the Grimm Forest is going to get launched, because there's going to be a hell of a lot of interest on this game. And that was where it was coming from. And there was a lot of buzz about the artwork. There was a lot of buzz about even just the simplicity of the mechanics and what it was offering. And it was just the entire package. People were saying, I had people saying to me that this was the kind of the full package of a Kickstarter. This was the kind of the bar that you had to kind of to look to reach now, kind of thing. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but I'm just, do you know what I mean? Though there was because the Kickstarter itself was really, really well presented, but the buzz before, there was a lot of buzz before. So did you make a conscious effort to generate this buzz before you went into the Kickstarter phase?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you. But secondly, my background is in marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
And more corporate in the corporate world. So in the construction and trucking industries.
All right.
And so those are things, building marketing campaigns is what I've done. And so that, I just leaned into my strength there, that if you look at a movie that's coming out, they don't just plop the movie up the weekend that it opens.
No.
There's a build up to the movie. There's trailers that are released. There are second trailers, sometimes third, fourth, depending on, the hype and the scale budget of a movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to treat all of my projects in the same way, that it's like a movie release. I mean, Kickstarter is not a place that you put something out and then you go, all right, guys, there it is. Y'all come and get it. No. It's, if you don't bring the audience to the project, you're not going to make it. And so one of the reasons that I feel like the campaign had such legs, because it had a great first day. We hit right at $70,000 on the first day. Yes. But it was because it had legs because of all the marketing and push that we've done into the market to show people the game before it launched. We put the first look video for Man vs. Meeple out about 2 months in advance of the game launching. And that's what you have to do now. I mean, right now as we're talking, CMON just launched Green Horde Zombicide. Yeah. It's at $800,000 in an hour. And so you're up against people who have full on marketing departments, full on campaigns going. So you can't just expect to throw it up there and, say, "Ooh, if I can get $10,000, I'll do well." And by the way, that doesn't make you any money. You're actually going to lose money on projects like that. Yeah. So
yeah. Unless you got a kind of a backing on that. And then you ran it, and then it was, it was doing some. As you said, it got 70,000 in the first day, and it just seemed to keep going and going and going. Now, one of the things you do see, and we actually said before we recorded, the CMON guys don't need any more publicity, but they seem to have a mechanic or a way of doing things where they have, here's all the stretch goals, and they have everything planned out and ready to go. Yeah. When you were doing that for the Grimm Forest, did you have, in anticipation, had you sat down with all the artists and said, listen, just in case, let's get everything ready, or were you kind of hedging your bets and saying, well, let's maybe budget up to a certain amount? How did that kind of go?
Yeah, no, I had stretch goals built to 350,000, and so I expected it to do in that range, and at least I hoped it was going to do in that range. And you can typically tell from your pre-marketing if you're getting a lot of engagement from your pre-marketing, then you should expect good return on your campaign. Like people who put out ads and they don't get any engagement, people aren't liking it, commenting, sharing it with their gaming group. If you're not getting anything, you shouldn't expect those people to spend money either. We were getting hundreds of shares of the images we were putting out. We were getting thousands of likes. So I could tell that I had hit a chord, that this game and the things that my vision that I had previously was going to translate to the market. The other thing, and I'll do one quick word on the companies like CMON. There's a group of people out there who seem to think that CMON doesn't deserve and shouldn't be on Kickstarter anymore. And I can understand that feeling, but I'll say, for me, I love that they're on Kickstarter because they have set the bar for us. They have brought the market to this platform that I can now use. All I have to do is put together a package that looks good to the market.
Yeah.
And so had they not brought all these massive numbers to Kickstarter, who knows what Kickstarter would be able to do? So it's a double-edged sword. You can say, I don't want to go up against them, in which there is some truth to that. You don't necessarily want your campaign to go up against them head to head, but they've grown Kickstarter as a board game platform so much. I'm grateful that what they've done and that they keep growing it. There's more people have money to spend on board games.
Yeah, I mean it's a kind of, as you say, it's a double-edged sword, because if there wasn't these really, really big campaigns, would you get the same kind of guys? The guys that are hanging around for Green Horde today, are they at the same time going to be looking at other kind of smaller projects at the same time? And he's thinking, well, maybe I'll stick $50 down on this because this looks interesting, or,
right.
I mean, one of the things that Kickstarter seems to be doing is it seems to be trying to build up an internal community. So you can follow people now on Kickstarter. So, what will happen is you'll not just get the digest to say, okay, the following games are here and you can have a look at them. Or what you used to find with Kickstarter is you actually need to go into, I'm going to search games, I'm going to look at tabletop, I'm then going to have to order it by, do I look at it at most funded? Do I look at it by search by magic? Do I look at it by what's got the least days left? But what you get now is you get a list of everybody that you know who has backed a particular game. Interestingly, it doesn't give you the level, which is quite good, because I think, like myself, I liked the idea of pledging for a game at $1 and then seeing where it goes and following all the updates and then jumping in at the kind of the end of the day when I'm,
Yeah, I call that the eBayer. You're the eBay guy who likes to jump in the last 2 minutes of the campaign or the auction and snag it and snipe it.
Yes, exactly.
And there's a lot of people I think that want to see the full package before they commit their money, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think Kickstarter really opens the door for any type of buyer pattern, and that's great. There's some people that like to support from the beginning. There's some people that want to wait to the very end and see what the whole package has.
I think there's some people that want to. You have people that almost habitually back games and then realize they've backed too many and then drop out. Or you have people that will back games because sometimes putting in being able to back it at a later date sometimes increases what they'll actually spend as well, because maybe they don't feel pressurized. I know that one of the guys that we had on a good couple of months ago, which was Purgatory Minis, Gary Devereaux, he was saying that they made an extra 25 to 30% on their funding that they got on Kickstarter because they had a late pledge manager, and people jumped in and added in additional extras. And the other reason they had the late pledge manager was people that were pledging maybe for one set of minis went in and they pledged for another 2 or 3 because they had seen now what they were definitely going to get, and they knew it was going to fund and stuff like that. So it's a kind of it's kind of like, I know a lot of people that will just go in and say, right, I'm backing one project and I'm doing this. I know some people that will back lots of projects and put $1 here, there and everywhere, and then after the campaign's finished they'll decide who to jump with. But I've kind of seen that. But you're right, I don't know if it would be the same situation if the big guys, like your Steamforged games, like your Mantic games, like your Simons and this world would kind of jumping in instead. But you are a big main guy now as well, because Grimm Forest went on to get 400k. What was the mood like in camp when you were doing that? Were you was it the excitement just building? Were you wondering, you were like, oh my goodness, because the game funded and you ended up pretty much all stretched out. There wasn't anything you could kind of offer.
That's right. Yeah, we cruised right into the very end. We actually, because like I said, I had stretch goals all the way up to 350, and so we went back and we could see that we were trending toward 400. So we actually put together 2 extra cards that some ideas that we were talking about for the expansion of the game, and so we went ahead and pulled 2 characters out of those mechanics and went ahead and put them in the base game. So it's one of those things where because of the success, we really were able, what a stretch goal should be, is add more content to the game, to kind of support it. And another thing is like the minis. Like I have the pre-production copies here in front of me that I'm looking at from my manufacturer, and they look fantastic.
Sure they do.
And so, like the Dragon Mini, that's not something that I would have been able to put in the base game, just because of the complexity of it. And it's much larger and takes up a lot of room. The box had to be bigger to be able to hold it, things like that. And so, we really did. We didn't have a lot of Kickstarter exclusives. We only had one that was the box sleeve. And, we didn't offer a discount. We didn't, because I want the experience from the first person to pick it up to the last person that buys it retail ever to have the exact same experience. I think we've all experienced that, where we go, like I found out about Blood Rage after the Kickstarter. And so the first time I played it, I was like, oh my God, I love this game. I have to have everything that this game offers. And I found out that half of the stuff that I was playing with in the version that I was playing with was not available to me. No. And I mean, pure hatred filled my heart. I wanted to burn the building to the ground. I was like, no, you don't understand. I want it all. And then I go look on eBay and those pieces are $75 to $100 a piece. Yeah. I'm like, it's going to cost me $600 to get this game that I could have just got. So, long story short, there's my ranting and raving.
Breathe now because I can hear the rage.
The blood rage, exactly.
The blood rage is smelling. Yeah.
I think we all like having something special that brings us to the party, but there's no reason that can't be something that's not exclusive to the game content. And so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make it where the backers got something cool. That box sleeve is going to be gorgeous. It's going to look fantastic on your shelf. It even has a little message on the back of the box specifically for the Kickstarter backers. Then from that, though, anybody who picks the game up can have the same experience and they don't have to feel like they got cheated.
Yeah, I mean, they're just missing out a piece of cardboard as opposed to a mini that they'll never ever see again.
There's a game mechanic, man. I gotta have that fin rear in my Blood Rage set. Come on.
I do. I mean, I've seen, and if I'm being honest, it's one of the things that I look out for. And if it is something that says exclusive, it kind of can put me off a little bit. It depends what it is. If somebody says to me fundamentally that the stuff will be available in retail, then I'm quite happy with that. I mean, Dark Souls, the board game, for instance, they've come out and they've said every single piece that you see will be out in retail, and I'm like, well, that's cool because it means I can hold back and I'm not going to have to, I'm not going to have to jump in with both feet and maybe sell a major organ in order to get all this stuff here. But
we had plenty of people say, why should we back now if it's going to be the exact same in retail? And we said, you don't have to. Just support your friendly local gaming store. We love our retailers. Our industry is better because of retailers and gaming stores. But we did say, hey, look at all these things that we want to add to the game. So without volume, without that money now, we can't afford to put these into the game. Mm-hmm. And so it's a two-edged thing. Hey, do you want to see that dragon in the game? Because if you do, back now. If you're cool with waiting, then wait. All good too.
Did you see an uplift after you opened up the Pledge Manager afterwards? Was there a little bit more of a jump after the gun?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the Pledge Manager is still open, too. So if anybody's listening to this now and wants to get the Kickstarter version, they can still get that and get the box sleeve. But we will be closing that pretty soon, probably in the next 6 weeks, somewhere around maybe Gen Con. That's when we've got to turn in. Because the way that the manufacturing works is I've got to give them an exact number of how many of the box sleeves to make. Yeah. And then we're packaging our Kickstarter versions differently. They're going to be, if anyone listening got unfair, I'm totally copying Kim Brayback's shipping method of putting our games in a pre-mailer box. So it's going to have corner protectors and really thick cardboard that is shipped in the box on its own. It's because it just protects your game, and it shouldn't be almost any damage that way. And so, retailer versions, I got to turn all those numbers in. So the Pledge Manager will be closing in the near future.
You should have said next week.
I wouldn't do that to people.
I can edit that in. If you just say now, it'll be closing in next week, I can then cut this bit out. I can push it back 30 seconds.
I'm not even going to say anything remotely so that you could splice together like that.
You don't know what I could splice together. No, I'm just,
That's true. That's true. So in general, I'm just really excited that people are going to get this game. I think they're going to fall in love with it, and it's going to be one that, sometimes things you can play once or twice, you come disenchanted, it makes it to the trade pile. I don't think our game's going to make it to too many trade piles. I know it's not for everybody, but I don't think
No, I'm thinking about the kids playing it, because I can imagine me sitting down to a 4-player game with my daughter who'll be 13, and she'll be like, Dad, this is so embarrassing, but it's so good at the same time. And my 4-year-old will be able to jump in and either play alongside me, or by that time he'll be able to kind of play along by himself. Do you back yourself? I mean, being somebody in the kind of the reviewing thing, and I'm guessing you're having people saying, would you like to do a video on my stuff? Do you kind of venture out and place a buck here and there yourself at all?
So I've backed 352 projects on Kickstarter. So I've backed a few.
Okay. I think there was a distortion there. I think you said you backed 352 projects.
No, that's exactly right. 352. And so...
Was your house made out of board games?
It is. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see my office space, and it's shelves and shelves and shelves of board games. I think my collection's around 650 or so currently. Like I'm looking at my sheet right now, so I'm backing Metal Dawn, Street Masters, Role Player Expansion, Deep Space D6,
yeah, I saw that.
Kokoro Avenue, Carthage, Manhattan Project 2, Zombie Tsunami, Archmage Origins, Path of Light and Shadow, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. I mean, I can keep going. It's like I have about 35 active backs right now.
I saw the Street Masters, and I instantly, my little Mega Drive chip in my brain went, Streets of Rage.
Oh, yeah. Double Dragon, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, Renegade, the whole kind of Final Fight, the whole kind of thing, kind of thought about that. But I'm taking a look, but I'm also kind of backing away from things as well, just to... Because the summer's coming over, and you get to the point where I actually need to start playing these things. Do you get a chance to play all these games then?
Yeah. I typically, I play, as soon as they come in, I get really excited because half the time I forgot that I backed it because I've backed so many. It's like a Christmas present randomly showing up on my doorstep.
It's Christmas
I don't even really dive into the Kickstarter updates that I get in my email too often because I get so many. But I will say that when they show up, I typically want to, because for me, it's almost like research. I can see, how they presented their project, how well it did. What is the gameplay like? Did they undercook it as far as development? Could it have done something different on the graphics? For me, it's just part of like study for my trade.
Do you look at it from a logistics point of view as well? And you're saying, well, who put this together? Who kind of shipped it out to these? Who shipped it out as well? What the kind of the packaging's like? What they've included in the box? Kind of. Do you take notes? I mean, are there guys that you kind of like, you get it through and you go, oh, for goodness sake. I dropped $120 on this and you packed it in a paper bag.
I've been surprised at how few projects I've been upset with out of 352. It's a pretty low number.
Yeah.
But I have definitely been underwhelmed by some people's presentation. And then I've also been really pleasantly surprised by some. So, especially like when I got Gloomhaven the first time, I was like, $79? What the hell, Isaac? Like, you are a crazy man. There is no way he made any money on the first round of Gloomhaven.
Well, I think that's why he had to do the second round of Gloomhaven.
And I'm not sure that he made any money on the second run either. Like, I still don't understand his pricing model for what's in that box. That's like 10 games worth of content for most publishers. So it's crazy insane what he did. But there's a bunch of games that are just really, really solid. I'm actually looking over at I have a Kickstarter shelf that's just like filled with Kickstarter stuff. Did
you have Steampunk Rally then? Just as a quick aside.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. I have everything done by.
I love that game.
Yeah, I love Roxley. Roxley is, to me, they've also set one of the standards as far as the way game publishers should go about their business. I emulated a lot of their setup when I was building my Kickstarter. A lot of this, Richard, is not rocket science. There are really successful people out there, and you just need to mimic some of their stuff. Obviously you got to do what's true to you and present in your way. But if people are being successful with their formula, there's no reason that you shouldn't glean off of their formula and for yourself.
You're not stealing. You're just kind of it's like sharing best practice. I mean, this is what you're talking about. I mean, if it was an organization and you were 15 guys in the marketing department, and you were saying, well, how did you get on with the 1.5 ton mini digger campaign? How did that go? Well, we did this and we reached out and we ended up reaching 15,000 people and we ended up turning over 12.5% conversion rate on that. That's amazing. Okay, what are we going to do with the 10.5 tonner? Well, we could do this. It's like everybody would share best practice. So I've seen it happen more and more because I am part of a Kickstarter. There's a UK Kickstarter group, and people will jump in and say, "Oh, you should be doing this." And a lot of the times, people will put up a preview of their Kickstarter campaign and say, "Okay, be as cruel as you like," and people just jump on and kind of give feedback on that.
Right. And I think it's one of those things where most people who do Kickstarters, I'm gonna be harsh for a minute, right? No one cares about your feelings. So if I give you feedback that you don't like, I am very not sorry. Because you need to hear this. People would come to me and say, I don't like this. I don't like that. This is stupid. This looks bad. And I don't get offended. I go, tell me why. Tell me why you don't like it. Tell me. Because all feedback is good feedback, whether it's great. Now, are some people curmudgeons or some people trolls and they're just being, yeah, for sure. But there's still some truth to some of the things that they're saying that you can apply. So in my instance, I want to help people understand that some people are so in love with their idea that they can't separate their idea from what the market wants to spend money on.
Oh,
if
yeah.
You can't package your game in a way that people can consume it. So one of the things that we wanted to do with Grimm Forest is we knew we did not want to go over $49. And so that's another reason why we couldn't put a lot of the minis that we wanted to into the base game without severe financial risk, because we ended up packing a lot of plastic in a $49 game that also had subsidized shipping, because everybody hates paying to ship a game. No one likes to look $49, great. Oh wait, $20 to ship it, so it's actually $69. Yeah. That's your real proposition to the market. Yeah. It's whatever people have to really put in, and so. It was refreshing for everybody in the UK to go, hey, I'm not getting walloped here. He's paying for the VAT. I don't have to pay for that. I've only got to pay, I think, what was it, $10 for shipping. So $59.
Which is ridiculous. And then, it's just ridiculously small, because I've seen smaller games that have had much larger kind of shipping on them.
That's because people didn't do their homework. They didn't approach this as a business model. And that's what people... you have to do that. If you don't, then you're just really selling yourself short, because you really are presenting a business proposition to a market. That's really what you're doing.
So, what's the next step? I mean, you've planted the flag in Kickstarter, and you can claim a massive victory there. I'm just. What's next? Where do you go after this? What do you do after this? Do you do expansions for the Grimm Forest, or do you are there other games that you want to do? Because as you said, Grimm Forest wasn't yours. You took it, you polished it up, you made it look fantastic. You worked together with the creator and you put something out there that well funded. What's next for yourself? I mean, have you got other projects kind of on the go in the background now?
Yeah. So obviously we're going to make sure that we follow through on Grimm Forest. It's up and running. We've got almost all the files are to the printer, and so we're on schedule. So we haven't hit any hiccups yet that would slow down our delivery date.
Cool.
And so right now we are currently working on a game, and this will be a worldwide exclusive. Dun, dun, dun. We've got a game that we're working on that we hope to launch in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter on Kickstarter. The name of this game will be called Alice's Wonderland. So it is a worker placement game that is set in the universe of Alice in Wonderland. And it's a very whimsical, fun, again, Gateway Plus type of game. So think Champions of Midgard, worker placement, dice rolling, whimsical world that is just going to look fantastic. I'm actually working with the artist on the cover art now, and I'm working with Tim Eisner. It's going to be another Tim Eisner game.
Oh, excellent.
And actually, he's actually designing this one with his brother, Ben Eisner, and they're going to go by, get this, all right, this might be the first time the world's ever heard this too, the Brothers Eisner. So cool. And so, I'm really hype about this game. We played a prototype version 2 weekends ago with Tim and loved where it was going. Love all the characters. So again, it's going to be a very, what's probably going to end up being a staple of our games is our miniatures and how, cartoonish our miniatures are going to be. Like, I love the life and the vividness that comes out of them, just like in Grimm. So I've already worked with my sculptor, and we've sculpted the first version of Alice. I think everybody's going to really enjoy having a Cheshire Cat and a Mad Hatter and the Rabbit and the Queen miniatures. Those are just going to be a lot of fun to have, even if you don't even if you think the game sucks, you can be like, but I got these really cool miniatures.
Everybody likes, they've always gone as far as kind of like having dark Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that. And then, every couple of years they do there's a TV movie that comes out, or there's a TV series that comes out, or there's another film that comes out, and it's such a well-loved story that, worker placement, that sounds a different take, but then it couldn't work it wouldn't be another miniatures game. You couldn't, I couldn't see.
We've definitely got miniatures, and the way that they work is pretty cool. So I'm going to wait until we've got a little bit more developed to talk about that.
Yeah,
but it is really neat the way that they work and how you access the different characters to get their powers to help you pull out whatever strategy that you're trying to pull off. So
no, what I was thinking is you couldn't have like a one-on-one kind of. I guess you could have a battling kind of miniatures game, but worker placement with minis. That sounds.
Yeah, we need to have an Alice in Wonderland battle arena. You can build out her player card, and she gets, bazookas and very whimsical. It'd have a very Green Lantern kind of feel to it since it's in the Wonderland world.
Everybody has removable heads.
Yeah, for sure. And Cheshire Cat can just come in and just blow everything to smithereens.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds fantastic. Let's make that happen as well. That can be like a sub-mini stretch goal for it.
That might have to be like a fan fiction type thing.
I don't think you want to go down the fan fiction route with Alice in Wonderland. I'm sure there's some really, really kind of strange kind of stuff going on in the whole kind of fan fiction department kind of thing. So
yeah.
So that's coming out. That'll be the fourth quarter of this year.
I think I'm going to shoot for sometime, the Kickstarter to be sometime in October, because I feel like I like the idea of Alice in Wonderland in October. It just feels very Halloween.
Can I put you, Johnny, on the spot and put an invite in to say, will you come back onto the show and give us a chat more when you know more about the game?
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely awesome to you heard it here first.
And I'm hoping in the next few weeks so I can release the official cover art and the miniature and let everybody see all that, because I'm like a kid on Christmas Eve. When I get this stuff, I just I can't keep it to myself. So
your kids telling you to calm down and grow up a bit as well. Dad,
yeah, for sure,
you're embarrassing us, kind of thing. No,
my son. I'm turning my son into an ultra nerd. He's gonna be worthless to the regular world.
No, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I was breaking out. I broke out my copy of Super Dungeon Explorer for my 4-year-old son tonight, so you could see all the miniatures for that. And it's such a simple game that I reckon we could probably give it a shot. If we house rule it a bit, he could probably play, because he was like, "This monsters!" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Dragon!" I went, "Yeah." And he went, "There's a big guy with a club." I went, "Yeah." He says, "Why are all the little girl models got no clothes on?" That doesn't matter. You don't play with those, his mother's looking over and going, "We don't play with those models, darling. I shall." And I'm getting a Paddington Bear stare. Kind of what am I doing wrong?
Sorry.
Exactly. There'll be words in the car, kind of thing, as they would say. After that, is there other games that I take it you must have, with this, where you are just now, you must have other projects kind of sitting there. Are you in the kind of designer mode? Do you have 4 or 5 other things that you're thinking, well, I could do this, and this is where we're going with this, and this is where we're going with that?
Yeah, so we've got, and I'm not going to announce any sort of theme.
No.
We've got another game after Alice that we're really excited about that is going to, let me just say, I'll say this. If Great Western Trail and Orleans had a baby that was playable in 45 to 60 minutes. That's the game that we're developing after Alice's Wonderland. And then after that, really, really excited about we're building a dungeon crawl. So woohoo! It's going to take a lot of development. There's a lot of story building there and a lot of that. But, one of the things I really loved and hated about Mice and Mystics is that it set a fantastic world up that my kids enjoyed listening to. But then when I went to actually execute the gameplay, it was very clunky and finicky. And so we're going to build a dungeon crawl that families can play together, but, the adults will very much enjoy. Yeah. So
I played it as well, and you house rule it because you have to get through. There's nothing worse than getting through to a rat. Getting through to a rat, facing off against them, you've got 3 characters and you get wiped out because you've rolled the wrong dice at the wrong time. So a lot of the time I kind of house ruled it. And I love Mice and Mystics.
I love it. Love the world. Love the story. The kids love the story. When I read them the preamble before the campaigns, they love it. But then we would start trying to resolve combat, and I'm having to check all the rule book again. I'm like, wait, let me make sure. Okay, so this cancels and that cancels and times 2, and I'm not sure, and oh my God. And then the kids are zoned out and they're over there. They're done. So we want to make it a very streamlined but still elegant, still has some depth to it. So, and plus the world that we plan on putting it in, I think is, if everything lines up, it's going to be what I hope people get used to seeing from Druid City Games, which is a very vivid, colorful, impactful world that they want to go, explore.
Where'd the name come from?
So Druid City Games is, again, I'm from Tuscaloosa, and so our city is called the Druid City. It is based off of the huge oak trees that we have here. So we have a river that goes in the middle of town, and it has just these enormous oak trees. And so it was called the Druid City. To me, it made perfect sense to be a nerdy type of thing with the word druid in it, based on my hometown. And our logo was done by Mr. Cuddington. And, we kind of gave him that direction. Put a city in the background, river in the background, big, awesome oak tree. I love trees. I have a tattoo of a tree. Trees are kind of eternal and show you the whole life cycle and all that kind of hippie goodness. So. And
you are now kind of on your CV. Your job title is game designer.
That's right. So I have left my corporate job, and at the end of this month will be my last day, and I'll be a full-time game publisher. Wow. And so we're it's exciting and also vomit-inducing all at the same time.
Because it's like away from the steady paycheck, but it's kind of like the thing is, But I mean, it must mean that must make a difference to kind of like your work-life balance, because you said you've got quite young. Your kids kind of sound quite young. So,
8 and 3. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got 4-year-old, 11-year-old, 13-year-old. So I would probably jump at the chance if I knew I was going to be. I take it, are you going to be based in an office? Are you going to be working from home, kind of thing?
Working from home, yeah. At least for now.
Yeah.
Or a coffee shop.
when you need
when I need some quiet. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I get to kind of set the pace of my life now, and I'm going to take my kids to school in the morning. And it'll be fun. There's definite some long nights where you're working to midnight, and so but I.
Yeah, but I know there's other days where you can just, when the sun is shining and the day's just right, and it's not too hot, and you can just grab the kids, in both hands and say,
absolutely.
Let's go for let's just go out the woods and just muck around for the day, kind of thing. So that's always, yeah.
I typically don't do that. I'm pretty married to my work. So I think that's one of the things that's made me successful, even in my career previous to this. But I think that's one of the things. People romanticize the idea of being an entrepreneur and making your own. But typically, if you're a very successful entrepreneur, you like to work. It's just part of you, because it's one of those things where you want to go have some margin, but you also know if you're not working, you're not killing anything and putting it on the table to eat. So,
no, I mean, the question I get asked is like, when I had and I'll get asked when I say that you've recorded an episode, it'll be, well, how did you get James Hudson on the show? And it's like, I kind I kind of asked them.
Yeah, you just reached out and asked.
I said, I sent him a message and said, "You want to come on the show?" I mean, that's as difficult as it gets. It's like one of these. I don't know. My personal thing on an entrepreneur, and I'm not an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm in sales and marketing kind of thing.
Right.
So, and I'm not. I am. There's stuff you would always like to do, and it's a case of But all you see in these kind of business guides is, here's the 10 things you need to do in order to be successful. And what I usually find is the guys that are the entrepreneurs are the guys that rip through the first 10 and then write the next kind of 5 or 7 themselves and just kind of keep working away at it. So it's not just, you can never say, I don't know, I have a lot of respect for someone like yourself that's saying, right, I have got myself to the level and you've worked hard and you're now at the point where you can say, well, this is me now doing things for myself, which is, and it's amazing to think this is all you're doing this on the back of cardboard, which is incredible.
That's it. You know what? We sell fun, Richard. That's what we do. We promise people fun, and we sell fun. And so if you can deliver that experience, people will pay you to have fun. Yeah,
and people need fun.
It's an essential part of life.
Absolutely. Now, this has been fantastic. I am absolutely delighted you've come on, and this has been a thoroughly brilliant conversation that we've had. But if people want to keep an eye on what's going to be happening with Druid City Games, where can they find you on the internet webs?
So I spend the majority of my time, I run a group on Facebook called Board Game Spotlight. Okay. It's really where I put all of my content. It's where I have all of my conversations about what games I'm playing and what things I'm working on. Typically, you don't see a lot of stuff about Druid City Games there. I do also have a Druid City Games website and Facebook page where we do updates. You can also go onto the website, druidcitygames.com, and sign up for the newsletter. So any major information, game releases, things like that will be funneled through there so you won't miss it. But yeah, Board Game Spotlight's a great place because we've built a really cool community. And like this week, Flatline from Renegade Games, I did a review for it, but we're also giving away a copy to kind of inaugurate the release tomorrow, actually, on the 31st. I don't know when this airs, but the 31st is the release. So I have a lot of publishers that give away a lot of games and do a lot of spotlights of the games that they're doing, a lot of Kickstarters. So if people want to come and check out more board game stuff online, that would be a good place to do it.
I mean, we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes.
Sure, that'd be great.
I take it you're on Twitter?
We're on Twitter, Instagram. I do Reddit a good bit on the board game group. What is it called? The board games subreddit over there.
Mm-hmm. I think it's actually just our board game.
Yep.
I think.
Yep. And then obviously I put all of my content on YouTube for reviews. Druid City Games on YouTube. So. Okay.
Well, as I say, normally what we do is, we will put the links in the show notes, so we have notes to show, as always. No, it gets worse. There's James, listen, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having
me. It's been a lot of fun, and I know that people are going to be going, but the Kickstarter was like a couple of months ago. Why are you speaking to them now? It's like, because I like speaking to people and I'm nosy. That's the kind of way.
And there's always stuff going on. So I mean,
absolutely.
This is to me, and I've said this before. This is when the real work starts after the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Delivering the thing that you said that you could do. So yeah, this is a good time to talk to people.
Absolutely, when the dust has settled a bit.
Yeah, the honeymoon's over now. The honeymoon's over. Now it's the real work. Yeah,
exactly. You were doing 18-hour days when you were running the Kickstarter campaign. Now you have to do 27-hour days instead.
That's right. Because guess what? If I miss that deadline, there's going to be some angry backers. So exactly. Got to make sure it's right.
Yeah, you want to stay away from the comments kind of thing, because I've seen those things when they go bad.
Yep.
My goodness, I've seen what happened when I think the Dark Souls boys kind of delivered. People were getting a couple of days late and getting their games delivered, and
they don't like that.
Toxic.
They don't like it.
You needed a hazmat suit to go into that place, But they were kind of expecting it. But that's it. If you want to keep a track on what we're up to, and we thank everybody that does kind of listen and support us and share our stuff on the various social media channels. We are also on, you can find us on we'renotwizards.com. You can find us through Facebook, which is We're Not Wizards. You can find us through Instagram, which is We're Not Wizards. You can find us through Twitter, which is also We're Not Wizards. You can search for us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as they're now known. If you search for We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast, then you will find us. If you wouldn't mind, we always appreciate a nice little rating. So as we always say, and I'm not going to say it until I get a court injunction stopping me from saying the same joke. We've heard it 69 times. We might as well hear it again. Don't give us a 10, because that'll make us big-headed. And don't give us a 1, because that'll make us cry. Just give us a 5, average, because we are definitely average. But and that would be fantastic. There are only 2 things left to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, James?
Not today, but I'm working on my Gandalf.
Is there a Gandalf impression? Go on.
Do you mean it to be a good day? Or do you simply mean that it is a good day to have a day?
A wizard is never late. He's always on time.
Yep. That's right.
And the second thing to do is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from the thoroughly entertaining James Hudson. Say goodbye, James.
Goodbye, guys. See y'all.
I do love that lilt you got there. And it's a rather terrible accent from me. But it's a goodbye from me. So remember, stay safe, roll 6s. Keep an eye out for Alice's Wonderland. We're going to get James back on to have a chat about that closer to the campaign, if I haven't scared him off with my terrible accent for today. But
today.
But until the next time, it's goodbye.